Your Honor, at some point, I guess we want to maybe further talk about scheduling matters. I guess and this is just a thought that I have, I guess we have said that we would start our evidence on Wednesday. And I guess we'd like to be in a position that if we were to reach a sentencing phase, not starting our evidence before Monday, which I think would be putting us at a pretty good pace, we told the jurors about that. We're trying to arrange getting witnesses.
I think what Mr. Brown kind of forecast to me at the lunch break was that we could potentially be arguing on Thursday. And if we were to argue on Thursday and the jury were to come back, on Friday morning, that he would ask to not start a phase 2 if we need it until Monday. And I don't have a problem with that if it's easier for everyone. They've been given Friday afternoons off at any rate, and it'll give us time to regroup if we need to. The state's evidence at sentencing will probably be half a day. If the defense has 2 or 3 days of evidence, that's still putting us a week ahead of schedule, I think. Right. So,
the only hesitation I have is, are you saying that it's certain the defense is going to put on evidence? Because
I think it's
more likely than not.
Yes, I think.
Okay, because I don't want to get to if the state rests on Tuesday and the jury would be instructed and deliberate on Wednesday. I don't want to lose Thursday and Friday. Yeah. But if you think that it's more likely than not that there'll be evidence for the defense.
Yes, I'm not saying it's going to necessarily take a long time, but
right.
But I believe we feel pretty confident there'll be evidence for the defense.
All right.
But a day or less.
I think that's correct.
And so we might even have a charge conference on Wednesday, and then
I think that would be simply a possibility. Yes.
Arguments and
arguments first thing Thursday. Then they'll have all day, essentially, a day to deliberate Thursday afternoon and Friday morning.
That's fine. That is fine. And remember, I think Wednesday is the day. Monday is the day next week that I need to start. I think I can be here, say, around 11:15, somewhere around there, so we could get a short morning session in, and then a full afternoon. So, but all right. Well, we're on a pace that I think, even if we have some downtime at the end of this week, we're still on a pace to finish well before what we anticipated or told the jurors to expect. So I think that's, at the end of the day, a good thing. All right, let's bring the jurors out, please. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we're going to pick up. Mr. Waller, further questions for this witness, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Agent Louder, good afternoon. I think where we broke off, we were talking about the wallet that you'd found on the dresser, and that was item number 20 that you looked at. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that's the one that had the defendant's license in it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's. I now want to take your attention to a number of items concerning the door, the linen closet door that you testified earlier about, and I'm going to bring up a photograph. Is that the linen closet door that you identified earlier?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said item number 17 was a projectile or a bullet that you found there inside the linen closet.
Yes, sir.
I now want to publish to you State's Exhibit number 188. And what do you see there, Agent Louder?
Is it okay if I stand up?
Yes, if you can stand again, please.
This is the exterior of the linen closet door. So again, if I'm standing in the hallway near the bedrooms looking towards the linen closet and the door's closed, what appears to be a possible gunshot hole right here, and it's indicated with a scaled marker.
And did you do some measurements on that door in terms of how far that bullet hole was above the ground or
did.
close to the doorknob? Can you tell us a little bit about that,
I
ma'am?
took 2 measurements to pinpoint exactly where that bullet hole is. I measured from the floor to the center of the hole, and then from the door frame over here to the center of the hole.
And what were those measurements?
It was approximately 2 feet tall, 2 feet 9 inches tall, and then it was over approximately 1 foot 4 inches.
And when you label, like this is a bullet hole, when you label those, that hole with a ruler, do you also include identifying marks such as A, B, C, D?
Yes.
I'm going to go to the next photograph, which is State's Exhibit 189, and what do you see there?
This is just a close-up of the marker showing still where it is on the door, and it's indicated. I believe it's A1 if I can read that correctly.
Let me go to the next photograph, which is 190. But before I do that, does this show the relationship between the doorknob there and where the bullet hole was?
Yes, sir.
And then this is State's Exhibit 190. Is that a closer view of that bullet hole?
Yes, that's correct.
And what do you have it labeled as?
P1.
Now, I want you to look at State's Exhibit 191, and can you tell what that photograph is of?
This is a photograph of the interior of the door, so the door that was on the inside of the closet portion.
And I guess the doorknob is on the different side of the screen at this point.
Yes, sir.
And going to State's Exhibit 192, does that show a close? Oh, sorry. Does that show a close-up of the inside of the door?
Yes, sir.
And that, how do you have that hole labeled?
P2, so it corresponds with P1. That's why it's 1 and 2. P would be the entry P1 would be the entry and P2 would be the exit.
And the bullet that you found in the closet, what is it right below P2 there?
It was located on the floor just near that door.
Okay. All right, let's go to, you mentioned during your direct examination that you did notice some blood on the walls.
Yes.
In what area of the house was the blood on the walls primarily located?
It was primarily located in a portion of the living room near the hallway that led to the 2 bedrooms, and then again in that hallway.
Okay, so going back to our, kind of using a frame of reference there, the corner has a marker, is that right?
Yes.
And then using this photograph, does that show the corner and then going in down that hallway?
Yes.
And is that the hallway that you found the blood on the walls that we'll be talking about here in a moment?
Yes.
Okay. This starting with State's Exhibit number 177 here, what do you see there?
This is in the living room looking into the hallway. So this area right in through here on the door frame and wall is an area of what appeared to be blood, and that was indicated too with those scaled markers that I also used to indicate that possible bullet hole.
I'll go to the next photograph, State's Exhibit number 178. Is that a closer up shot?
Yes, it is.
And the marker there, does it have a specific label on it?
I believe it's L1
Zoom in for you a little bit there, maybe.
or 4. I believe it's 4.
Okay. Is it? Okay, a 4.
I think so, yes.
Or is that a J, maybe?
Yes, it's a J, sorry. I typically write them on the centimeter side up, so sorry. Looking at it upside down is a little confusing.
And then this area, this is 179. What do you see there?
There's another area of what appeared to be blood, so it starts up in this area, right in through here, all the way down and through this area.
And that marker, how do you have that area of blood labeled?
As K.
Okay. What do you see here?
This is again leading into the hallway. This would be the living room, and then into the hallway. Area of, again, what appears to be blood throughout this wall.
That states 181. Move to 182, and is that a close-up of that marker?
Yes, it is.
And how do you have that area labeled?
It's indicated with scaled marker L.
The next photograph states exhibit number 183.
Now we're in the hallway. Obviously, this is the entry doorway into the bathroom, and again, what appears to be blood here, and then also over here. I'm sorry.
So two different areas of blood depicted by this photograph.
Yes.
The first one there, closer to the bathroom, that states exhibit 184. How do you have that labeled?
As M.
And then the second area on the wall, how is that labeled?
N.
This states exhibit number 186. What area are you depicting here?
This is what we have deemed as the children's room. It's another area of what appears to be blood right here underneath this picture.
I'll go to the close-up of that one. And how do you have that area of blood labeled?
Oh.
Now, Agent Louder, when you find, you've mentioned a couple times about area of suspected blood.
Yes.
Are there procedures that you as a CCVI agent use to determine whether or not an area of blood or suspected blood is in fact blood?
On scene, I do a presumptive test. In the forensic world, we have two types of tests, a presumptive test and a confirmatory test. Confirmatory tests are typically done in a laboratory setting, so in the field we use a lot of presumptive tests. Basically, that means that it gives the indication that it could be blood, but we can't rule out that it can be other things. So for the areas that we saw with the placards on the floor, in the hallway, and then on the porch, those areas were tested with a chemical that we call phenolphthalein. And basically that procedure is, I take a swab, I place a drop of distilled water on it, so that whatever substance I'm trying to test will adhere to this swab. After I've collected it, I then test it with the phenolphthalein. That's a 3-part chemical. The first part, I place a drop of methanol on it. The second one is phenolphthalein, and the third is hydrogen peroxide. Once those 3 drops are placed on it, if there is a positive reaction with the iron, then the hemoglobin, then it will immediately turn pink. And so if it immediately turns pink, then that gives us an indication that it is blood. With phenolphthalein, it doesn't rule out any other type of blood. So I could be getting a positive test for animal blood, insect blood, but we do know that it's blood. Then that will further be sent to a state lab or something like that where it'll be tested in a confirmatory way.
And you mentioned, Agent Lauder, there were several different areas of the house that you did this presumptive test on. What were those different areas?
They were in the hallway where we saw the larger stain, and then also on the exterior porch.
And so that was one of those
Yes.
number 18,
Yes, sir.
or evidence marker number 18. And is this an area that you did that presumptive swab? Is it a swab test?
Yes.
Okay. And when you did the swab test here on the area depicted on number 18, what was the reaction that you got?
We got an immediate reaction on that test. So then I used a second swab to collect an area of the suspected blood from that stain.
And so also you did it for the area depicted on marker number 19, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And when you did the swab test or the presumptive test on area 19, what was the result of that?
Again, it was positive. So then I used a second swab to collect that suspected area of blood.
How about the areas that on the walls that we just kind of went through that you had labeled J through O? Did you do any type of testing on those different areas?
I didn't do any testing on those areas. We had been told before that an altercation between LaTanya and Mr. Holden had more than likely occurred in that specific area. That's where she was found. And she was found between the hallway and the living room, or I'm sorry, the rear bed, the children's bedroom. So we were never given any indication that a suspect was injured. So more than likely we were told that the blood that we had found was LaTanya's blood.
In that area that was depicted right there in the corner of the hallway and the living room, there appeared to be some bloody clothing there. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Now, Agent Louder, were you the agent in this case that actually, I guess, did the examination of Miss Anglia Taylor's body?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell the members of the jury a little bit about where you found her and in what condition she was in?
Sure.
And I think that I'll just pull up marker number 14.
Yes.
Is that the room where you found her?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, like I previously stated, if you're standing in the living room looking out towards the back door, the master bedroom was located on the left side. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, just like I saw it. There was no damage on the door. And like stated before, just inside the door, I found a spent shell casing. And Mrs. Taylor was located just inside the bedroom.
Do you know approximately how far Miss Taylor was from that spent shell casing?
The room was pretty tight, so I would just say maybe a couple of feet.
And then when you went in there and found Miss Taylor, can you describe kind of what you saw when you got in the room and saw her?
Mrs. Taylor was found on her back.
And let me pull up those photographs for you.
Her feet were pointed towards the entry door, and I believe her arms were on either side of her. And her head was near the bathroom door.
I'll start with State's Exhibit number 117. Is that the condition in which you found her?
Yes, that's correct. The bathroom entry door was right over here. Her shirt had already been pulled up, and her legs, like I said, were more towards the entry door into the master bedroom.
Maybe let me rotate that for you. Is that kind of, if you're at her feet, is that the direction in which you were able to take this photograph?
Yes, that's correct.
So up here on the top right-hand corner, that's the entrance to another bathroom,
Yes.
and then her feet are down here at the bed.
Yes, sir.
And if this photograph kind of went off the left, I guess the bottom left hand of the page where I have the cursor, that's where that spent shell casing would be.
Yes, sir, right in that area.
Now you mentioned that her shirt was already pulled up when you got there.
Yes.
What is your understanding of how her shirt got pulled up like that?
I believe that, I was told that EMS, I believe, had pulled it up.
Okay. I'm gonna go to now State's Exhibit number 118. And what do you see there?
It's just a close-up of Mrs. Taylor. When I examine the body, I'm looking for any sort of trauma, and on her wrist, on her left wrist, what appears to be a possible gunshot wound was located.
Did you see that gunshot wound or apparent gunshot wound on her left wrist when you first approached her body in there?
Yes, sir.
How about any wounds to the chest? Were they, I guess, readily apparent to you when you first began to examine her?
No, sir.
Let's go to State's Exhibit number 119, and what do you see there?
This is just a close-up of the possible gunshot wound that was located on her left wrist. It's on the top portion.
State's Exhibit number 120.
From this angle, I'm stepping more in towards the bathroom to get a closer photograph of the top portion of her body.
State's Exhibit number 121. What do you see there, ma'am?
This is one of the blouses that she had on, and what appears to be a possible gunshot defect is located on her clothing.
You're referring to this area right here.
Yes, sir.
If I can zoom in, does that help if I zoom in a little bit there?
Yes. This hole right here is what appears to be a possible gunshot wound.
Now, it's fairly apparent from this photograph that Miss Taylor was wearing several layers of clothing. Agent Louder, did you take steps to go through and kind of, I guess, almost redress her to show the gunshot wound?
Yes, sir.
Or the path of the bullet, I guess?
Yes, sir.
So State's Exhibit number 122, what do you see there?
This is what appears to be a possible gunshot wound on her left breast.
And did you have to pull her shirt up a little bit
Yes, sir.
to find that? Was there, I guess, any active bleeding at the time you arrived?
No, sir.
Okay, it was in the condition in which we see it here.
Yes, sir.
That wound was. And now at this point, this is State's Exhibit number 123. At this point, are you starting to, I guess, put her to redress her?
Yes.
So walk us through this, how you did that.
So we were able to tell that she had a possible gunshot wound to her left breast, and we wanted to see if there were any defects in her clothing. It helps kind of recreate the position that she was in when the incident occurred. So this is a black and colored sports bra that was placed back on her, and it was able to line up with that defect that she had on her chest.
And I know you weren't putting a shot rod or anything
No.
from the clothing at this point, but based on your putting the clothes back on, did it appear that the path of the bullet was consistent with the defects you saw in the clothes?
Yes, sir.
And we'll go to 124.
Just a close-up photograph of that defect on the black sports bra.
125.
This is the next layer that she had on. It was a blue and color tank top. So again, we pulled it all the way down. And what appears to be a possible gunshot defect was located on that. And it matches up with the black one as well as what was on her chest.
Couple questions about this photograph. It appears that you're able to see more presumably blood at this point on that blue tank top. Did you feel the shirt at that point to see if it was still dry or wet, or see if it was still wet or dry?
The clothing was still damp.
And was this the position in which you found Miss Taylor's arm when you walked in the room?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you don't know if EMS or Wake County had moved her in any way?
No, sir, I don't. But I believe I was told that EMS had rolled her over, that she was located on her stomach, and they had rolled her over to perform any life-saving measures that they could.
At any point, Agent Louder, did you move this hand over her chest to see if you could tell if the bullet trajectory went through her hand and then through her clothes?
We did move her hand later in our investigation, and it appeared that her wounds were more than likely consistent with one possible gunshot.
And that State 126, that just another close-up? Is that a close-up of the blue shirt?
Yes, sir.
And State's Exhibit 127. Another layer of the clothing that you pulled down.
Yes, sir. And again, what appears to be a possible gunshot defect is located right there on the pink shirt.
128.
Just a close-up of the earlier defect.
129.
The blouse that I originally noticed the defect on, we then placed that over top.
130.
Just a close-up of that defect, which is right there.
131.
It's just a different view of the same thing, so the defect is right in through here.
And at this point, are you starting to pull the jacket a little closer to Miss Taylor as well? Then?
Yes, sir.
And so 132.
Is a close-up of the jacket that was put then on her.
Okay. And did the jacket cover the blue shirt, the sports bra, the pink shirt, and the blouse as well?
Yes, sir. The defects were all in the same area of the clothing.
Now, after doing the front or examining the front of Miss Taylor, do you then flip her or turn her over and examine her back?
Yes, sir.
State's Exhibit 133, is that an examination of her back?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to find an exit wound on Miss Taylor's back?
No, I wasn't.
And then State's Exhibit 134, what is that?
This is just an area of what appears to be possible blood located underneath of her.
And then to make sure that you can't find an exit wound on her back, do you remove the clothing from her backside as well?
I don't remove her clothing, but we will pull her clothing up and I will palpitate her back just to see if I feel anything.
And is that what you see there?
Yes, that's correct. So all of her layers have been pulled up closer towards her head so we could determine whether or not there was any trauma to her back.
And when you did this, there was no readily apparent exit wound?
No.
These almost bruising type marks that you
Yes.
see on her lower back, can you tell the members of the jury what that is?
It's called livor mortis. So shortly after a person becomes deceased, it's what is called the blood pooling. So Mrs. Taylor was found on her back, so the blood is going to naturally find the path of gravity and it's going to settle in the lowest point. So it makes sense based off of the position that she was located in on her back to find blood pooling in her back.
Thank you, Agent Louder. I think I'm done with some photos for the time being,
Okay.
and I want to talk to you a little bit about maybe some items of evidence that you
Okay.
that you collected there at the scene. Agent, can you kind of walk us through after you're finished taking the photographs and documenting the scene as you find it? Is that the point where you begin to collect items?
Yes, sir.
All right. And if you can walk us through this case and what items that you collected.
The items that I collected were the items that we already discussed, 13 through 20. Items 13 was the golden color spent shell casing. It was head stamped Win 380 Auto, and that was located between the floor of the kitchen and the living room. Item 14 was another golden color spent shell casing, which was located in the master bedroom. Item number 15 was a golden color spent shell casing, which was located in that hallway leading towards the multiple bedrooms. 16 was a golden color live round head stamped Win 380 Auto. And again, that one was located in the hallway. 17 was a copper and color projectile that was located from the linen closet. 18 was a swab of possible blood from the hallway. 19 was a swab of possible blood from the exterior rear porch. And number 20 was a brown and color wallet containing various cards, which was collected from that dresser in the what I believe to be the children's room.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Agent Louder, I'm approaching you with what has previously been identified or marked as state's exhibits 203, 202, 204, 205, 206, and 207. We'll start with 202. Take a look at State's Exhibit 202 if you recognize what that is.
It is my item number 14, one golden color Win 380 shell casing, and it's indicated by my case number, the sheriff's department case number, the time that I collected it, the type of offense, the name of the victim, as well as the address, my name, the Wake County investigator who was in charge of the case.
And item number 14, that was the shell casing found in Miss Taylor's bedroom
Yes, that's correct.
that we've seen photographs of previously. And I'd ask that you open State's Exhibit number 202 at this point. And what appears to be the contents of 202.
It is the golden color spent shell casing with the head stamp Win 380 Auto on it.
Does it appear to be in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected it?
Yes, sir, it does.
Are there some markings on both the envelope and the bullet itself that may pertain to some analysis that was done at a later time?
Yes, sir, there are other signatures, and there is markings on the bullet.
Your Honor, this time I would ask to introduce States 202 in evidence.
Any objection? Allowed.
States Exhibit 203. If you'll identify that and then open it up if it hasn't been opened up already.
It is item number 13, one golden color spent shell casing, Win 380 auto.
And item number 13, going back to the photos, was the evidence marker that was found there in the kitchen area.
Yes, sir.
But as soon as you walk in the door, you're looking into the kitchen and see item number 13.
Yes.
And what do you have as the contents of 203?
It's a golden color spent shell casing, head stamped Win 380 auto.
Does it appear to be in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected it back on April 10th?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 203 of evidence at this time.
It's allowed.
204.
It's number 15, so one golden color spent shell casing, head stamped 380 auto.
And that's one of the shell casings we saw a picture of in the hallway area.
Yes, sir.
So I'll open that item and take a look inside.
Again, that's a spent shell casing, golden color, head stamped 380 auto.
Same or substantially same condition.
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 204 at this time.
It's allowed.
205.
205 is my item number 16, which is one golden color live round, head stamped 380 auto.
If you'll look at it. What does that appear to be?
It appears to be the live round, head stamped Win 380 auto.
Same condition as when you collected it?
For the most part, there are some more markings on the...
The
Sure.
markings from further analysis,
Yes, that's correct.
but otherwise in the same condition.
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 205 at this point.
It's allowed.
Agent Louder, if you'll just set that one, you can put the
Okay.
live round back in the bag, but if you'll just set that one to the side. And that was the live round we saw a photograph of that would be number 16, is that right?
Yes,
In
sir.
the hallway. If you'll look at 206,
This is my item number 17. It's a copper and color projectile.
if you'll open that one. What is the contents?
It's a copper and color projectile.
Appear to be in the same or substantially same condition.
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 206 at this point.
It's allowed.
And 207. And if you'll pull that one to the side as well, louder. And then 207.
207 is my item number 20. It's one brown and color wallet containing various cards.
You'll open that item. What are the contents thereof?
It's a brown and colored wallet.
And are there some cards as well?
Yes, sir. There are various cards in here.
Okay, let me put I'm going to put an evidence sticker. That was number 207, is that right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to put a 207A, if you put 207A on the wallet itself.
Okay.
And then you have a collection of probably 25 cards there.
There are quite a few, yes, sir.
The photograph, the driver's license that we saw earlier in the photograph, is that within that collection of cards?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gonna hand you 207B, and if you'll put 207B on the driver's license, put it on the back side. Thank you. And whose driver's license does that appear to be?
Nathan Lorenzo Holden.
The 207, 207A, 207B, and then the other cards that were collected there, do they appear to be in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, this time I would ask that it is 207, 207A, 207B, and the remaining cards as well.
They're allowed.
You can just put those back in there. No, but, you might want to keep those.
Okay.
Before we move on, I do want to ask that I asked you to keep 205, 206, and I'm now adding 204 to the collection here. I'm going to remove the contents of each one of these.
Let me do it.
204, is that one of the shell casings?
Yes, sir.
And then 205 is the live round.
Yes, sir.
And then 206 is our projectile.
Yes, sir.
Will you, and permission from the court, will you just step down from the witness stand, and if you can, I'd ask that Agent Law to publish these items to the members of the jury by just walking in front.
One at a time.
If you can do 206, I'm sorry, 204 the first time, and that'll be the shell casing. Now, 205 would be the live round. Agent Lauder, that 205 there, that's the live round, and that's the condition that a bullet and shell casing will be in if it doesn't fire for some reason.
That's correct.
And then 206, the bullet itself. .206, the bullet, that's what it looks like after the bullet is separated from the shell casing, after it's been fired.
Yes.
I'll let you put those back in the envelope. If you can just, I guess we'll return these to the
Okay.
clerk so we have plenty of room to work. After collecting these different items, after you have them there on the ground or on the floor and then you collect them, what do you do with them, Agent?
After I've collected them, they're placed into the envelope which you saw. Each envelope has it's given the item number, so the items that I read off earlier, our CCBI case number, the Wake County case number, a victim's name, the area from which I collected it, meaning the address, the type of crime, as well as the lead investigator for the sheriff's department or whichever agency was on it. The item is then sealed with tape and it's initialed by me. I then, depending on the type of call that it is, I then take it back to our facilities at CCBI, and it's placed in a secure evidence locker.
And at that point, I've mentioned a couple times that things can be sent off for further processing. At a later point, is that something that you would have done in this case?
Absolutely.
No, you've talked about collecting the shell casings, collecting some blood swabs. As part of your responsibilities as a CCBI agent, do you also do fingerprinting at a scene?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you do that here?
I did.
Okay. Can you walk us through how you process the scene for fingerprints?
Sure. As I previously talked about, on this particular case, there were some areas of interest on entry and exit into the residence that were of particular interest to us, and that would have been the entry door that we've shown on the front of the residence that led into the screened porch, as well as the entry door and the storm door that led from the screened porch into the residence. There was also a rear entry door and storm door, which led to that rear porch where we originally saw what appeared to be blood on the porch. So those areas were processed for fingerprints. And how I do that is I use a volcanic magnetic mixture, which is basically volcanic ash and magnetic filings. It's a black powder, and I typically use a black powder because it will give a different, it'll make the print stand out as to the surface that it's being processed on. So majority of the doors that we were processing were white or silver, so a black substance would stand out on these areas. When I process it, I basically take a wand. It's where the powder will adhere to it, and it's then like painting. I'm painting a specific area that I'm looking for fingerprints. So those doors, the door frames, etc. And when I see what appears to be ridge detail, so everybody's fingerprints have, on everyone's fingers, they have ridge detail on their fingerprints. So I then look for that ridge detail on those surfaces that I was printing. And if I find ridge detail, I then take what is very similar to clear packaging tape. I place that on the ridge detail, smooth it over. That way, the area that will adhere to the tape is the oil left behind, which the powder has already adhered to. It will then be transferred onto the tape, and I then place it on what we call a lift card, which is basically just a white, almost like an index card.
And were you able to, I guess, find a few possible latent prints here in this case?
I did.
Where were those possible latent prints from, ma'am?
I got a latent print from the interior storm door, the exterior front entry door, and the interior rear entry door. It was a total of 5 cards.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm approaching you with what has been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 219. If you'll take a look at that envelope and tell me if you recognize what that envelope is.
Yes, sir. This is my item number 20. It's my latent envelope, which contains latent cards 1 through 5. Again, just like the other pieces of evidence that we talked about, it's identified to me because I placed the CCBI case number, the Wake County case number, the date, what type of crime it was, the victim's name, an address, my name, as well as the investigator's name from the sheriff's department, verifying that it was the sheriff's department. I also indicated what number it was, as well as how many lift cards are located inside this envelope. I then sealed it, and my initials were on the back of it.
If you'll open 219 there. You said there would be 5 latent cards inside.
Yes, sir.
Are there in fact 5 inside?
Yes, sir, there are.
I'm going to hand you 219A. (219B), 219C, 219D, and 219E. And are those in fact latent cards that were generated from the Lake Lad residence?
Yes, sir.
And do they appear to be in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them,
Yes, sir.
other than some possible markings from later analysis?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Your Honor, at this time I would ask to introduce State's Exhibit 219 and then 219A through E.
They are allowed.
Using 219A as an example, can you show us, Agent Louder, how you would have gone about taking or getting a latent print there off of a part of the residence?
Sure. So the area that I talked about using, like, similar to packaging tape is what you're going to see right here on the strip. It was then when this piece of tape was placed on, this one came from the front storm door.
And how can you tell that?
On the back of every latent card, there are 5 things that I do on there, actually 6. I write exactly where it came from. So this particular lift came from the interior front storm door. I also draw a picture on the back. This would be my representation of the interior front storm door. I don't know if you can see from there, but there's an X, and that indicates where I took the lift from. Also, my initials, the type of call that it is, the date, and the case number, CCBI's case number, are placed on the back of this, and then I number them in numerical order.
And do you actually put the tape on the, I guess in this case, the door?
Absolutely. So you'll put the tape on the door. You then smooth it out with your hands to help the print adhere to the tape. You then take the tape off, and it's then placed on this card just like it is now.
And on 219A, is there a possible latent print on that card?
Yes, sir, there is.
Right, and where is that possible latent print?
Right in these areas.
And if the witness may step down to show
Yes.
that. Agent, I've used the term latent print or latent evidence several times. What does latent mean?
Latent just means that you can't see it with your naked eye.
And so that's why you have to put fingerprint powder on the door, the dresser, or whatever object it may be.
Yes, sir.
And then when you put the powder on, you wand it, and if you see a possible latent print, that's when you put the packaging tape on.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
If you'll repackage those for us. Now you've done your photos, you've collected the shell casings, you've collected the blood swabs and your fingerprint and the possible fingerprints. Anything else that you collected there on the scene that night?
No, sir.
Okay. And how long would you say you were on the Lake Glad scene that night or those early morning hours?
Well, I arrived at 0:56 hours, and I left the scene at 5:10 a.m.
Okay, so you were there from 12:56 a.m. until 5:10 a.m.
Yes, sir.
And once you finished with the Lake Glad scene, was your morning over at that point?
No, sir.
All right. What else did you have to do in this case that morning?
Once I left the scene, I had to go back to CCBI. I had evidence, as well as the photographs, the 360s, and our sketches, which needed to be uploaded. Those were uploaded. I then secured all of the evidence in my secure evidence locker.
Okay. And are you the only one that has access to that locker?
I'm not the only one that has access to it, no, sir.
Who else has access to your locker?
Our evidence lockers are secured in what we call biometrics. Essentially, you cannot get into our secured evidence lockers where they are, the room, without using your swipe badge as well as your fingerprint. Once you're in there, all agents have individual lockers, which they have the keys to. Our keys, I believe our evidence technician also has a key to our evidence lockers, as well as a person in administration, but that's it.
Once you got the items of evidence that you had collected from Lake Glad Road in your locker, was your day over in regards to this case yet?
I believe later on Thursday, the 10th, there were some more actions that I took, yes.
Did you go home for a little while?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and then came back to work on the case some more?
Yes, sir.
All right, when you came back to work on Thursday, April 10th, what did you do then?
There were several things that I did that day. One of the first things I did was an agent had responded to the autopsy, and she collected various items which were placed in an evidence locker. I then gained access to those and placed them in what we call a P5 room. It's essentially a drying room, so the clothing that she collected and the items that she collected can be placed in a secured area where those items can be dried.
And do you know who that agent was that had collected the clothing items?
Yes, sir. It was Agent Stacy Snyder.
And where had she collected that clothing from?
She collected those from the medical examiner's office.
And whose clothing did she collect from the medical examiner's office?
She collected Mr. and Mrs. Taylor's clothing.
And you said the P5 room, that's the drying room?
Yes, sir.
And after the clothes were dried, did you begin to repackage them?
Yes, sir, I did.
And were those items, were they again stored there at CCBI and for evidentiary purposes?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, if I may move this court in front of the bench, I think that might facilitate a little walking back and forth.
Yes.
Agent Thompson, in regards to the clothing. Now, Agent Thompson, in regards to the clothing that you processed, I'm going to start with, I guess, the clothes that you received well, did you receive LaTanya's clothing at some point that day as well?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us how you received those clothes?
A deputy from the sheriff's department brought them to me at CCBI facilities.
And as the lead agent, everything came into you, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll start with item number 32. Can you tell us what item number 32 is, and who it belongs to?
Yes, sir. Item number 32 is one black in color Gildan brand size extra long pants. Those belong to LaTanya.
And I'm handing you what has been marked for identification purposes. The state's 208. Does that appear to be CCBI item number 32?
Yes, sir.
And is it labeled as such in the way you just described?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'd ask that you open state's exhibit number 208.
Stand up.
Yes, ma'am, and permission for the witness to move around.
Let's introduce it.
Yes,
Or
sir.
maybe it must, any objection? All right, it's allowed, and yes, ma'am, you may.
Let me put an evidence sticker on that one, Agent Lauer, 208A. And what is 208A?
It is a black and colored pair of Gildan brand sweatpants, size extra large.
And just for the record, 208 and 208A, do they appear to be in same or substantially same condition?
Yes, sir.
And Your Honor, this time I would ask to introduce those into evidence.
All right, they're admitted now.
Okay. Now, these appear to be cut. Agent Lauer, were they in this condition when you received them?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you can put those back in 208. I'm gonna hand you stakes 209. If you can identify 209 by its CCBI number and then its description.
It's my item number 33. It's one pair of pink and color underwear, no brand, no size.
And if you will open that. Okay, and let me hand you 209A. And what does 209A appear to be?
A pair of pink and color underwear with no brand, no size.
And do 209 and 209A appear to be in the same or substantially same condition?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask they be introduced at this point.
Any objection? Admitted.
You can repackage those. I'm going to go now to Anglia's clothing.
Okay.
Actually, let's go to Sylvester's clothing. That should start with your CCBI number 41.
Okay.
I'm going to hand you what has been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 212. If you would identify the CCBI number and then the contents.
It's item number 41. It is one blue and black and colored plaid boxers, Fruit of the Loom brand, size unknown.
If you'll open 212. I'm going to hand you 212A.
Okay.
If you put 212A on the boxers. And do they appear to be, before we show them to the jury, do they appear to be in the same or substantially same condition?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I'd ask to introduce 212 and 212A.
Any objection?
No objection.
They're allowed.
And permission for the witness to stand up and show those to the members of the jury.
Yes.
And you can stay right there, Agent Lowry, you don't have to walk all the way down in front of the jury, but do they appear to have a red substance or liquid on them?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. State's Exhibit 213, if you can identify the CCBI number of the contents.
It is my item number 42. It's one pair of blue plaid Hanes brand pants, size large.
You can open it. Hand you 213A. And our 213A, is that the pajama pants?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 213 and 213A.
No objection.
It's allowed. They are allowed.
Pajama pants, do they appear to have blood on them?
Yes, sir, they do.
Repackage those. $214, if you can identify the CCBI number and the description.
My item number 43. It's one pair of black metal frame eyeglasses.
Can I open those? $214A, I'll hand you that sticker. And does that appear to be the glasses?
Yes, sir.
Any changes?
No, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask that there is 214 and 214A.
Allowed.
You can hold those up and then repackage. State's Exhibit number 237. If you'll identify your CCBI number and the contents.
It is my number 98. It is one white in color Hanes brand short sleeve shirt, size large.
If you will open that package. Is that 218, Agent Robert?
237.
237. I'll hand you 237A.
Okay.
And what does 237A appear to be?
The white in color shirt?
Does it have any changes or alterations?
No, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 237 and 237A.
Allowed.
If you can stand. Now, Agent, these, the pajama pants, the boxers, and the white shirt, and if you can hold it up a little higher. Are those some items that you would have had to put in the drying room?
Yes, sir.
And why'd you have to put those different items in the drying room?
The areas what appeared to be blood on here were wet when I got it. So in order to preserve any type of evidence, we need it dry before it's fully packaged.
And the shirt, is it completely dry at this point?
It feels dry, yes, sir.
But is the blood now hard?
Yes.
Hardened?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. And we have 215 and 216.
Okay.
If you can identify the CCBI numbers and the descriptions at this point.
215 is my item number 44. It's one brown in color Trotter's left foot women's shoe, size unknown.
And then 215, 216.
216 is one brown in color Trotter's right foot women's shoe, size unknown. It's my item number 44.
Let me hold those back right out of here just a little bit.
Okay.
Let me go down to Anglia's clothing, which I believe will start with your item number 44.
Okay.
We'll start with actually number 217, and I believe that's your item 46. If you'll take a look at that and identify what that is.
Item number, 217 is my item number 46. It's one pink and brown in color Cato brand long sleeve button up shirt, size medium.
And if you can open that item. 217.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna hand you 217A, if you can identify 217A.
It's the blouse.
That's 217 and 217A being.
Allowed.
And is this the blouse that we saw in the photographs that Ms. Taylor had on?
Yes, sir.
And can you indicate for the members of the jury where the defect in that, where the bullet hole is in 217A?
This would be the left side of her shirt, and it's right here.
Thank you, ma'am. Two State's Exhibit 218.
Okay.
Take a look at your item number and description.
It would be my item number 47, one black and color sports bra, unknown brand, unknown size.
Remove that. I'm gonna hand you 218A. And is 218 the sports bra?
Yes, sir.
Any changes or alterations?
No, sir.
I'd ask that 218 and 218A be added.
No objection.
Allowed.
And can you again show us the defect on the sports bra?
The defect is right here. It's almost easier to see on the inside because it's white though.
Thank you, ma'am. State's Exhibit number 220, your CCI number 48.
It is one pink and color extra touch brand sleeveless tank top size 1X. It's my item number 48.
We'll look at that item. It was 221.
220.
220. It was 220A. What is 220A?
Oh, it's the pink and color tank top, extra touch brand 1X.
Same or substantially same condition?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask to introduce 220 and 220A.
No objection.
Allowed.
And if you show that to the members of the jury.
And earlier when I talked about the defect is right here.
$221. You want to identify the CCBI number and the description?
221 is my item number 14. It's one black and color lay suit skirt, size 12.
And if you can open that item. Behind you, 221A. And what is 221A?
The black and colored skirt.
Same or substantially same condition?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask 221 and 221A be entered.
No objection.
Allowed.
And do you see, or is there any blood on the skirt itself, Agent Lauer? That you can see via the naked eye?
Not that I can readily see.
Mr. Waller, we're going to break till 4 o'clock. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll be in recess until 4. Please leave your notebooks in your chairs. Follow all the rules I've instructed you on. Everyone else, please remain seated. Be in recess until 4 o'clock.